You're listening to
Anjuna on the record.
Hi guys, Gareth Jones, label manager at Anjunabeats here, and welcome along to something new from us at Anjuna HQ. This is Anjuna on the record. It's a brand new podcast where, rather than focus on the tunes, we'll be speaking to the men and women behind the records, getting to know their personalities a little better and their thoughts and feelings on music and life. Hopefully, once a month, we'll be bringing you an in-depth chat with one of our artists so you can hear from the people behind the productions and learn more about our talented Anjuna family. Our first conversation was recorded back in January and saw me sit down with Jason Ross on the eve of his Rooms EP release. We talked about his DJ and curational background, the evolution of his sound, and the importance of a balanced lifestyle in the industry. Hopefully you enjoy this and do let us know your thoughts on the Anjunabeats Twitter. Over the coming months, I'll be sitting down with many more of the roster to get under their skin, and we'll be bringing you a new interview with Ilan Bluestone in the coming weeks. As ever, don't forget to hit subscribe to our Anjuna playlist on your streaming service of choice, and you'll be able to get this very podcast on iTunes and Spotify. So, here's Anjuna on the record with my guest, Jason Ross. So I guess we should start by saying we're recording this on the eve of the Rooms EP release, which is out on Anjunabeats, and it's the 24th today, it's 25th tomorrow. How are you feeling the night before? This is your biggest solo project, I guess, to date as an artist, apart from your first artist album, which I'm sure we'll touch on at some point. But how are you feeling? This is obviously a big deal for you to be releasing a body of work like this.
I feel like it's exciting. I feel like there hasn't been a time like this where I've been able to showcase who I am as an artist. A lot of them has just like recently just been singles and remixes and stuff, but this is like my time to kind of, I guess, show the world, who I am, I guess.
Yeah, I think you've had like a really interesting journey on the label, and certainly a more diverse and dynamic journey than some of the other people that have come up over the last few years. I think Anjunabeats has for years kind of functioned in waves of talent at times, and there's kind of people talk about those Daniel Candy era times when there was that the 138 trance stuff, and then we had like the arty Zoe and Audion period, and then you're kind of very much this. Well, for me it feels like you've only been here for kind of like a few years, but actually you are an established act now, and you have been with us for, what are we saying, 5 years that you've been releasing on Anjuna?
Yeah, I think 2015 is when things really started moving.
Yeah, I know. I remember, if we go back to, I guess, the Burma days, which are where we kind of first heard about your music. Group therapy is obviously an amazing platform for us to find new talent and A&R artists. I guess, what were you up to at that point before you were on Anjuna? What were your musical inspirations around that time, and how did you kind of get into producing Anjuna style music?
Yeah, so that was like around like 2013, 2014. So it was after college. I moved home with my parents, and I just knew that I wanted to do this. This is what I wanted, and I was going to do anything I could and learn everything I could to get there. So when I released Burma, that was on a smaller label, and I had a connection to that label as Monster Tunes, and I sent them the track. I didn't know if they'd like it or not, but it was just like a way for me to kind of step up, take that next step into this electronic trance world, I guess. Another step towards getting on Anjunabeats, I guess. And I think it was like one of my first releases, kind of like major releases, I guess. And then you guys happened to pick it up and play it on the show, and that was kind of like the start of it all.
Yeah, I think you definitely brought like a different energy that a lot of the stuff at that time had been. A lot of the music at that time was referencing, I guess, Audion and Arty. And I always thought your sound design and your grooves were a lot more kind of chunky. They were kind of a little bit of a throwback to the older era of trance stuff, but there was definitely kind of a new modern production to it that really worked well. Where did you kind of start making that sort of music? You know, how many years had you been working at being a musician before you kind of got to that stage where you felt comfortable sending your music to other record labels?
It was during college. I had like kind of like somewhat of a mentor in college that kind of brought me into the scene and showed me, you know, the music that's out there. Because before college, I wasn't in the dance music scene at all. I didn't know anything about it. I vaguely knew about Above and Beyond. I knew about ATB just from like, you know, 9 p.m. and those trance classics that everyone knows about, you know, at that time. But in terms of like trance music and where it was in like 2000 and, you know, the dance music scene, I didn't know anything about that until college. Yeah. So
what were your tastes in music before that then? Was it just...
It was all over the place. It wasn't really EDM. It was like anything. Like I loved Coldplay and, you know, Death Cab for Cutie and like more chill stuff. And, but I always kind of gravitated to more emotional, melodic type stuff. And it wasn't necessarily dance music. It was like anything that I found that resonated with me. It wasn't a specific genre.
Yeah. Were you one of these people that kind of went out, I guess, hunting for new music, or what was your kind of, you know, where did you find a lot of the stuff? Because I think sometimes, you know, people say they're music fans and, you know, they like having things on in the background, but you've always struck me as somebody that's been kind of really in tune with different types of music and, you know, would actively go and sit somewhere and listen to an album to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually have a memory. This is actually in 2001. I heard, I don't know what song was on the radio, but it was like a dance type song. And I was like looking for more of that stuff. And again, we didn't have any of this, you know, these streaming services or, you know, these places to like find music. Like we had albums, we had CDs that we had to look for. And it was around the era of like those compilations, those dance compilations back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah. Like this is whatever dance music, I don't know, volume 1 or volume 50 now.
Yeah, they all sort of had like the same songs on them, but slightly tweaked.
So I went to, I was in New York, and this is like 2001 or something, and I went to like Virgin Record Store or whatever, where they had all those CDs, and I was like, all right, I'm looking for like this dance music. I don't know what it is or how to find it. And I found like some compilations. It was like totally dance, and I like bought a few of them just like hoping that there would be something that I would like on it. And there were a couple songs, and there were like catchy melodies and really cool like vocals. And I'd have to really look back and see what those songs were. But, you know, when I found it, I was like, I would just repeat it all day, every day. Like just, I don't know, because it just hit me. It resonated with me. So like, it wasn't like I was like attached to a certain artist. It was just like I was always on a search to find music that resonated with me. And the more I got into like searching, the more I found dance music to like really hit me.
I think it's interesting with a lot of the stuff that you'd find on those mixes. It didn't really matter at that time who the artist was. You know, it was much more, or you know, to a certain extent, some of the lyrics. There was just an enjoyment for kind of the sound design and, like you say, the melodies and stuff and the emotive content. You know, I think back to when I was getting into dance music, I wouldn't necessarily know my difference between like a Tomcraft and a, you know, Energy 52 or anything like that. But I just kind of embraced the sound of it. And it almost, because if you're in a club, you know, kind of fast forward to a few years, you wouldn't know what you were listening to. You just enjoyed the music that was being played by whoever was DJing. And yeah, I think that's always a really important thing to hold on to with dance music, is that it is one of those things that does kind of not rely, you know, maybe the culture has changed a lot over the recent years, but it doesn't necessarily rely on the artist behind the track or, you know, the prestige of that sort of thing to really enjoy it. You know, you can enjoy a David Guetta track as much as you can enjoy a really tasteful dance name, which a Moby or somebody like that.
In a way, a DJ is like a curator of like the music they like.
Yeah,
you know? and
that's actually something that's, I guess, in the, you know, with with the build that dance music had and the boom that it's had over the last few years, when it's become such a festival style performance thing, that has been lost at times. People would go and see Pete Tong and not know any of the songs, and it didn't really matter. People would go and see Sasha, going back many years, and it wouldn't really matter what tracks were played. You just enjoy the overall journey of the music. And actually, I find with your sets, you have always had a great ear for curation. When you sent over the first Mix in the Room series, it did really remind me of what a strong set you put together, because I think Tony's always remarked about your style of mixing being a little bit old school, a little bit kind of like 1632 bar mixing rather than slamming things in, which I know they certainly appreciate. I guess when you're about to go on tour, like the Rooms tour, how do you go about just deciding what you're going to play and kind of getting music together and working out what journey you're going to create for people?
Well, I never, when I go on a tour, especially a tour like this where it's my, solo headline kind of thing, I first want to start off by, thinking like, okay, well, where am I going? What are the clubs I'm playing at or and whatnot? And then what do people expect of me? You ask all these questions, or you're kind of like trying to get the big picture. And then, what do I want to give the crowds? Obviously I have to play the songs that they know and love from me. The classics.
Always play the hits.
Always play the hits. But then I think it's important to like show them something, another side of you, and kind of throw them for a spin. And there's a lot of edits that I make, and sometimes I put like one of my vocals on another song. It's kind of like a fresh spin on that track. And also like kind of where am I going? Where is my sound evolving to, and to kind of showcase the newer stuff, or the new kind of, not direction, but like my sound always kind of evolves. And
talking about the diversification of Jason Ross, the artist, obviously there's the Anjuna side of you, and then you've had these, epic releases on Ophelia, and your remix of Haley M was kind of taking things in a different direction as well. Tell us a bit about the backstory on that side of your character and your music making process.
So like kind of going back to what we were saying, like I didn't grow up in a certain genre. I grew up in gravitating to music that resonated with me and putting out the music that I felt was inspiring for me. Kind of like a curator of, in a sense, like, I guess like rewinding back a little bit, my earliest memory of DJing, I was in 5th grade, and we had like this end of the year like party for my like classroom. I had bought a bunch of CDs. Like there was like some promotion going on. I bought all these CDs. It was like pop and all this stuff. I like decided that I wanted to like DJ for my class, and I didn't call it DJing, but I was like, I want to play music for this party. And what I did, and again, I didn't know anything about DJing. I don't know anything about, but what I loved was like the idea of controlling, the room, like making people feel good and giving them an environment where they are happy and having a good time and dancing and stuff like that. So I brought two boom boxes and my case of CDs, and it was like, I don't know, Aqua and like you name it, I had it, like, and I would play a song on one boom box, and while that song was playing, I was like digging through my CDs to find like, okay, like where's, like I was like tapping into the room. I was like, where are they, and are they having a good time, and where do they want to go? Just like as I think now when I DJ my sets, it was like that same thought process I had when I was like, I don't know, how old was I? Like 9, 10. And right when that song ended, I had a CD in the other boombox ready to press play. So it was like these seamless transitions. And I just noticed the classroom, like all these kids were like having such a good time and dancing, and like it was very lively. And I think that was like my first experience of DJing. And so like controlling the room and controlling the environment, like I knew I wanted to do this when I grew up, and I didn't know what DJing was or what that meant. But I knew that at that moment I was like, this is really cool. Like it's amazing. And every year after that, until I was like in like high school, that same teacher asked me to come back to her class to DJ her end of the year parties. And I did it.
Is she still going? Because we should definitely send you back there to play like some Higher Love
I don't know.
into Aqua. That would be amazing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I have no idea. It was a long time ago. But after that, I had a lot of like parties at like my house, like, you know, because people started to like hear like, oh, you like do this DJing thing. And I would like have like these clubs in my like basement of my parents' house back in the day in Minnesota. Wow. And to this day, like my friends still talk about like those parties and stuff. So yeah, I mean, going back to like now, it's like, I really like how you can kind of control an environment and make people feel a certain way. And I think the reason why there's like this evolution happening with my sound is like, you know, different genres can bring about different emotions and different types of energy. And I think it's like really cool. That's why I'm influenced by certain styles of stuff. It's not like I'm trying to be someone that I'm not. It's like, it's cool to kind of evolve and kind of give people certain experiences and certain, you know, like changing an environment. It's there's something powerful with that. And I think people like that. I think people like change, and I feel some people don't, and that's okay too. But
people want to go on that journey with you. You know?
It's like, it's a journey. It's a journey. Exactly.
You know, my big mantra on dance music is that a lot of people get into it because it's the sort of music that's played, like you say, at these, you know, at your house parties, and you're like, when you're 16 and those kind of years where you're, you know, making new friends and maybe, you know, kind of growing up. That's only, you know, from my experience, that's how I got into dance music. It was the music that was playing when I first started kind of not having friends. That really does me a disservice. Always a popular kid, but certainly, you know, that kind of, you know, you're going out with mates, you feel like you are becoming an adult, and often it's dance, you know, whether it's clubbing or you know, maybe just at a house party or whatever, there's a DJ playing dance music, and that kind of soundtracks, and that's the backing track to a lot of those experiences. And I guess, you know, from what you're saying is you really enjoy being the person that is being that backing track for people. And that's kind of set you on this path to where you're going now. And you never really strike me as a DJ that's like on stage wanting to be the center of attention. I always think I think of you like as a DJ that just wants to give everybody a really good experience on the night.
Yeah. And that stems back to like why I'm here, like, and what brought me here, like the fifth grade thing. Like, I wasn't with my two boom boxes. Like, I wasn't like, everyone look at me. It was like, everyone enjoy your time, you know, like have a good time here. You know, I'm just here to give you guys that experience. Yeah,
that's a nice way of doing it. I think we need to do more gigs in your parents' basement. I mean, I'm more than happy to fly over for those and run the door and stuff. And I don't even want to know what your rider was back then when you were in grade 5. Like, that would be proper, like, only the blue M&Ms vibe on that one.
Anjuna on the record.
So, you know, tell us what it's like being in the studio with Jeff. You know, when you're working together, how do the ideas get created? Where do you go from there?
The process, like, there have been a few times where like I you know, fly to Seattle and we work in the studio together or if we're touring together, we're working together. But majority of the time, the process is you know, I'm in my studio, he's in his studio, but we send files back and forth. But with Higher Love, he had a piano part, and I took that piano and I turned it into kind of like what Higher Love kind of is, and you know, I sent it to him. It was kind of like the breakdown was kind of filled out, and the drop started, you know, had an idea for the drop, and I sent it back to him, and he was like, dude, like, this is crazy. Like, how did you do, you know? So when I got that feedback back from him, I'm like, okay, like it's happening. And then we sent the project back and forth. I'm on Ableton and he's on FL. So we were sending like stems back and forth. Yeah, he's on FL. Wow. He's a master at FL.
A wizard at FL. Wow.
Yeah, he is. So it was just kind of like that back and forth that we started to kind of like enjoy the process of working together. Like, cause every time we'd send an update to each other, we just get excited and we just like want to make it better and make it bigger. And So we just really work together. I think like our musical influences are very different, and in a way they complement each other. So I think that's like the fusion of like trance and dubstep. That's kind of like how that whole thing started. But I think the first time, like when he like decided to make like a dubstep part in Higher Love, I was like, at first I was kind of like, I don't know if Anjuna would like that, so I was very like hesitant to like accept this fusion style. But and I remember the first time I played it was at the church in Denver, and I think when I played that dubstep part, people didn't really like know what to do, or like I didn't really know what to do either.
There's a brilliant video from Zigo Dome actually when the guys first play it, because that was the first time it was played. Yeah. And there's like a wide shot of the camera, and there's just one guy in the crowd that thinks he knows what's about to happen and starts moving, and then just stands there in complete shock with his mouth open after to get out. It's brilliant.
Yeah. So, but I think like that was the first time me trying something like that, or being exposed to like dubstep in a way. And then when we did like the back-to-back set at ABGT 250, at first I was like, how are we going to play back-to-back? Like, how is that going to work? His style is so different from mine, and that again was like another exposure of being influenced by that style. And there's so much energy in his style of music that I just loved, because, my sets are very energetic, but to kind of add another layer of energy to me is very really exciting. And I think the more energy, the better, tastefully, of course, but that's kind of what got me into that new genre of like melodic dubstep and stuff. Is just, I love the energy, and a lot of that music is very emotional too, like Elenium and Seven Lions, and, it's very emotional. And like I said, I gravitate to emotional music no matter what kind of genre it is. It's like, if it hits me a certain way, then I'm all about it.
Yeah, I mean, adding that kind of, that change of groove and that change of beat to your DJ sets makes you unique to some of the other guys on the label. Everybody needs their USP in this market, and I think that's kind of what you bring to the table. If we're looking at like, we're booking a stage for Tomorrowland or something like that, it's always important that every artist has feels a little bit different. I know every artist there is going to play their own sort of music, and everything has its own unique sound. But we put you on the lineup, and there's going to be a tempo change, and not like not all the time, but you're going to do something that's going to be a little bit left field for the crowd, and suddenly they're going to change the atmosphere, they're going to change the mood, and then that kind of you're not hearing the same thing all day. And it's good that you can work with somebody in the studio as well that can bring those ideas, and then you can develop them further.
Yeah. I think I love challenges like that, of like, how are our styles going to work together? But when you come out on the other side, you're like you just learned so much. And I've learned so much from Jeff, and he's kind of, in a way, like, just as Above and Beyond have been like mentors, he's kind of like taking me under his wing. And like, releasing on Ophelia, giving me that new platform has been just really nice. And it's been very welcoming. And I think his community of like fans and the Codex group and stuff, like, they've been very supportive of my music and my styles. And, even with trance, they've, so it's just been really a nice welcome to that world.
This is Anjuna on the record.
You're listening to Anjuna on the Record, which sees me, Gareth Jones, in conversation with LA bass producer Jason Ross. Head over to the Anjunabeats Recommends playlist to check out Jason's Rooms EP in full, and that's also where you'll find the brand new club mix for IOU, and soon his dance floor update of New Dawn. Back to Jason though, and we discussed how he first came into our Anjunabeats family.
Like, you guys like Burma, and I remember, I think it was you or Neil or something, and you were like, do you have any more music? And I was like, yeah, I got more music. I'll send you some stuff in a week. And, I saw that as my window of opportunity of like, I could get onto Anjuna. And so I locked myself in my room for like a week because I didn't have any music at the time. And I made 3 songs, and you guys, and Elements was one of them.
I mean,
usually,
Elements was Elements was one of them. Elements was sort of
two of them.
Elements of two of them.
Yeah.
We'll take the groove from that one and we'll take the chords from that one.
Exactly.
Put those together and there we go. That was debuted at ABGT 100, which was the first time we met.
You guys were all running around.
I mean, charging around looking like a nutter, trying to organise the band and get them in the right place at the right time. And then you'd trying to kind of pop up side stage. What was that like as an experience? You know, we hear so many stories from it still, but you turned up. I guess we'd kind of given you an idea you were going to have some music in the set, and then it was 3 tracks.
Crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine that was pretty cool. I guess.
Yeah, I was in the stands like everyone else, and when I heard those songs, it was just like crazy.
Do you have a favorite like production from that era? Because you kind of you sent a lot of music once, and I think you were having releases like one every 10 weeks or something like that, and they were we look at Cairo and Atlas and Coaster. Like, is there something from that kind of era Jason Ross that you really love and you would always have to play in a DJ set, or if you're playing a best of Jason Ross, it's the one you'd go, yeah, that's the one that I really want to play?
Yeah, I would say Atlas. I mean, that's like one that I think will never get old to play.
Yeah, I think I'd say the same actually. It stands up, and I don't know if we don't really rate tracks of the year and stuff like that here, but I think that still stands up as the one that like a lot of DJs would be more than happy to drop wherever they are in the world.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that is I saw like one of my first inspirations or like DJs back in the day was ATV, and I saw him play it once and it went full circle for me when I saw that. What did he mix it? I assume he didn't mix it into 9 p.m. till I come, because that would be an insane.
epic mashup just in the middle of the dance floor. And then you've made it and you can retire at that point.
Yeah.
And then I guess let's roll the clock forward to like that was ABGT 100. You kind of came with us, you met the team, and then we go forward like 150 episodes. Well, we go forward 100 episodes, and it's ABGT 200 in Amsterdam at the Ziggo Dome. That's kind of your first group therapy live show. What were your feelings leading up to that? How did you feel about it? 'Cause I feel like those shows are, they're the Super Bowl is how I always describe them, of kind of our little Anjuna world. And I think the set you delivered that night, it was a pure Jason Ross bangers set. All the hits, all the big tunes. Like, how did you feel kind of being on that stage at Amsterdam?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like, these type of shows, like there's a lot of preparation and a lot of pressure that you put on yourself too, because it's like, it's my time, this is my time to showcase who I am. And but not only that, it's like, well, this is being streamed live and
to quite a lot of people.
It's not just like the people in the arena, it's like the people around the world are like tuning in, and they've been waiting all year for the show. So it's like that pressure is just kind of builds on you, and you have to kind of like, you put the pressure on yourself to kind of make it a really good show and make it a good set. But I was working on that set until like an hour before I left. I was like switching things around and, moving the arrangement of songs. And once you get on that stage, it's like, you own it, and you just feel like this is all right, we're doing this.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, about Rooms as a concept, where you came up with that, kind of how the project developed, and I guess, what people can listen to now.
So the Rooms concept was like, it was my first time releasing like a mini album kind of thing, and to showcase who I am, and my first Anjunabeats release where I can kind of like, where it's not like the Anjuna artwork. It's like, I could do my thing here. I could like, so I took that as an opportunity to show people really who I am, and what my brand is about, and what my story is. And it was around the time when I started dabbling in different genres and stuff like that. So I was like, well, maybe this is a good time to kind of showcase not just like my trance side, but like just my everything side, my artist side.
Yeah.
And what I want to like put out in the world. And so I don't know how I got the name Rooms, but it was like I wanted every single track to kind of represent a different part of my musical influences and stuff. And then the Rooms was like, well, I guess my first like thought of this was like, I'm in a hallway and I see all these rooms one by one, and every room you go into is a different world, a different concept, different place, which is representative of, well, two things: a different style musically, but also representing a different part of my life that kind of got me to where I am today. You know, you have East of Eden, which represented my time in China, you know, flying around 9 cities in 9 days with 9 shows. I've never been to China, and it was such an amazing experience, but at the same time it was very overwhelming at times.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Being in a different culture, and it's very different from any other place I've visited, but at the same time it was such a beautiful experience. The people are so kind. So that was a piece of me that I wanted to kind of include into the album. The Gorge, another one, which is like my back-to-back with Seven Lions, a very big pivotal time in my career, which kind of opened me up to new genres. And then you have Close Your Eyes with Jonathan Mendelsohn, which was representative of my time growing up in Minnesota. You know, just kind of figuring out, well, who I am musically and as a person. Yeah. So like,
I think with Close Your Eyes as well, you know, I think we can probably say that, you know, there's a touch of kind of that Matzo era Anjunabeats style to it. It feels very just classic and pure Anjuna, and I get that as well from The Gorge. You know, we've had conversations. I'm not the biggest psytrance fan in the world. It doesn't really, you know, I don't really get it. I never really grew up on it, but I think the way you treated that track, it was sympathetic and kind of. It doesn't feel like it belongs anywhere else apart from us. And yes, it's a different groove and it's a different kind of style, and there's different ideas in there that you wouldn't necessarily get from a normal release on the label. But it feels like the right place for that release to be.
Yeah. And I'm not just going to throw my fans a curveball and say, this is me now, like live with it. Like, it's like, I'm still going to be me, even if I'm trying out new styles and stuff. You're still going to have my essence of like my taste. Like, it's never going to really change drastically. Like, it's always going to be tasteful. And I think you can hear that on the Ophelia stuff too. Like, it's still me.
There's that kind of soul and heart that does run through your music, certainly melodically. And I think Rooms captures that across all the tracks as well. And then you get something like IOU, which is another curveball, but still the chords and the music behind it feel like they should be the sort of thing that you produce. And what's kind of the inspiration behind that one? Because that is a really, you know, unique track.
Yeah. Well, that song came across like I knew, you know, this is my opportunity to try different styles and to try different things. And so I was like, you know, it'd be cool to try a down-tempo kind of thing. You know, I really love like down-tempo stuff. Like growing up, that's mainly what I would listen to, is just melodic down-tempo type of styles. So yeah, I mean, I just tried it out and I think it came out really cool. And yeah, I forgot how we kind of connected with Emily, but you know, she did work with Millennium back in the day, like a really, really big track they had. So I always kind of like listened to her stuff and kind of followed what she was up to and stuff. So it was really cool connecting with her, and she just knocked it out of the park. And yeah, it was like the vocal was a little different from what I'm used to, but I think it gives it a nice little edge to the EP. Yeah, I really love what she did. So didn't really expect that I would make a song like that, but I think it's really cool, and I think people will see another side of me that they haven't really seen before.
It's a really unique. It's another kind of unique style for, I guess, what, you know. It's not the sort of voice that we've had on Anjunabeats before. There's kind of like a little bit of an urban side to it, which I really like. When Tony really likes a tune in the studio, you know, there's a bit of bouncing in the chair. There's a bit of kind of, that's, you know, there's a lot of shouting at the stereo, which is always great. And that's, he immediately thought, you know, that's the sort of pop stuff or pop orientated stuff that we should be doing.
Anjuna on the record.
What do you do to relax outside of gigging?
I kind of treat if you want to call it a job, but I treat it as like a 9 to 5 kind of thing. Like a lot of producers tell me like, oh, like you can make the best music in like 4 a.m. I'm like, well, I don't really want to do that because I want to still have like a normal kind of lifestyle where, I have friends where I live and stuff like that. So I think a big part of finding that balance is to make sure that you're not living in this DJ world. It's like you have a life outside of that. And when I'm back home, I try to see, my family and hang out with my friends out here that aren't necessarily DJs. I have a lot of good friends that are DJs, but I also have normal friends too, if you want to call it that. Yeah, but I think like having that balance and going out on runs and working out and making sure that you're taking care of yourself is a big part of what I do when I'm back home. And when I work on music, it's like that's all I'm doing. But I think it's also important to, I think this whole mental health conversation that's been going on recently, I think it's been very good, like eye-opening, because if you're not taking care of yourself and if you're kind of like stuck in that DJ world thing, it could really have some negative effects, So I think eating right, and I tell a lot of, when I did the masterclass, it wasn't just like teaching them how to produce, but like teaching them what it means to have a successful career and what comes into play with that. It's not just 24/7 learn, work. It's like, you got to give yourself a break. You got to step out of the studio and, maybe listen to some of your songs while you're taking a walk and getting different perspectives of your music and living a normal life outside of music and stuff like that. I think all that is very important.
I always go back to, I think it's a Parvo quote as well, which is one of the, the joys of being above and beyond with 3 in the band and only 2 on tour at once, is that the other one that is not touring is living a normal life. Mm-hmm. They're at home, they're with the family. Yes, they're in the studio, treating that like a day job, but they're not, living on planes, sleep deprived, not really knowing what city they're in. And I think people are more aware of, yes, it can be a glamorous lifestyle, but it can be quite a lonely lifestyle as well. You've obviously done the Journey tour, which from all the pictures, I mean, it looked amazing. I presume you kind of had that just kind of camaraderie backstage with the guys, and that's quite a nice way to see the world.
Yeah, that was cool. The bus tour was probably one of the most fun experiences I've had. Yeah. On the other hand, there are the lows, there are the, high highs, and there are some lows too. Living on a bus for 2 months isn't very as glamorous as, it may seem, like being on the road, being away from your friends and family, that's a part of the give and take of being on a bus and traveling the country. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else,
Yeah. What do you think you'll be doing in, say, 6 months from now? Where do you see yourself next year?
Yeah, I mean, after the, now that we've kind of wrapped up the Rooms EP and putting that out into the world, I'm excited to everything I've been exposed to from the bus tour and afterwards, I feel like, I don't know, it's exciting to, well, for one, I think that my fans kind of are accepting my evolution and, not trying to hold me into one box. I think it's really nice to kind of have that acceptance, and really the best fans in the world. It's like, they don't like me for what kind of genre I make. They like me for just who I am and the music that I like to make. I think that's really cool. So yeah, I mean, of course I'm never going to just leave trance in the dust and kind of just go off on this left field kind of journey.
Here comes Jason Ross, the trap artist.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Bells and whistles
never going to happen.
Yeah.
Because who I am, it's I gravitate to emotional music and no matter what, even if it's a different genre, it's still going to be something that I like and something that, just going back from back in the day, I gravitated to stuff I like, and you hear that now and you're going to continue hearing that.
Yeah.
There's going to be some trance for sure. Some
good,
all that good stuff. And then, I think this new thing, with Ophelia, it's, my relationship with Jeff has just been continuing to grow, and collaborations are in the works, and I think Ophelia is a really cool new platform for me to kind of like try new things, and you'll hear a lot of that kind of stuff live, and you'll hear me testing out some new music on the tour and some new collabs with Jeff and some new Ophelia releases. Yeah,
but I better hear them soon because I'm quite a big fan of these collaborations, and I'll try and steal them for Anjunabeats. I mean, if I had a pound for every time I danced around the office or Miami or wherever I am in the world to Ocean. I remember running across the RC Cola plant at like 100 miles an hour just to get to the front row when Jeff dropped Ocean, and then dancing. Dancing, not my proudest dance ever, slightly strange one, but it certainly worked at the time. No, cool. I think it's really exciting to kind of see what people make of rooms, and also just following this journey. I think all of our artists are evolving in different directions, which is really exciting. Whether it's Andrew Bayer doing what he did with In My Last Life, you doing what you're doing, and I think that's what we want Anjunabeats to be, is a platform where all of you talented guys can really just showcase the music that you want to make. And, hopefully it aligns with kind of what we want to do and what A and B want to do. So, on that respect, keep going in different directions and keep seeing what happens, I think.
Yeah, I will.
Anjuna on the record.
That wraps up my chat with Jason Ross. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe to our Anjuna on the Record podcast for more in this series. And of course, you can follow everything we do here on the Anjunabeats and Anjuna Deep Twitters. We'll be back with Ilan Bluestone in the next few weeks. But until then, see ya.